A lot of you remember, it's just, I can't believe it's been 2 years already, almost 2 years. But if you're part of our family 2 years ago, you know that we went through a period where one of our members, Kelly James, and a couple friends were climbing Mount Hood, and there was a storm that they hadn't had like that in years and years, and they were trapped on the mountain, and none of them made it down. They brought Kelly back so that we could have a service for him, but they've never found the other two climbers. And so this is Karen, Kelly's wife, and she's with us today because we're celebrating with her that she's written a book about this ordeal called Holding Fast. And she was nice enough to give me an advance copy of the unedited version of it. And immediately, as I started to read it, I said, this is going to be something else, because it was so well written, and it has so many little interesting things to it. So it's not just about the experience on Mount Hood, but for example, Karen, when I was reading it, I know you had told me this, but once again I was reminded because there's a picture in there of your great-grandfather. Yes. So tell us the connection between your husband Kelly and his tragedy and your great-grandfather.
Well, there's some strange similarities between Kelly, my great-grandfather. 100 years prior, in 1906, he left England to go climb in the Great Canadian Rockies, and he died on a climbing trip there, and left behind my great-grandmother, who had 6 children, and at the age of 31, she died 6 months later of what they called a broken heart.
And you've had a broken heart, and I know that we went through this thing as a congregation, and tell us a little bit. A lot of changes, obviously, when a person goes through that. What would you say is maybe some of the most significant thing that's happened in your life through this experience?
I think the most significant thing for me was really my relationship with God. When Kelly, my earthly mate, died, God became my constant companion. And I really learned and lived out seeing that God keeps every promise, and that while bad things happen, God is always good.
And it's a great book, and I appreciate today, thanks to Logos Bookstore in Snyder Plaza on the first floor as you go out, there's a book table. Will you be down there?
Yeah.
And Karen will be down there if you'd like to take a look at the book. You can get one down there. But I think you'll agree with me when you just start reading it. It's a page turner. I mean, it's one of those you just want to keep reading. And I'm just curious from your perspective. I know a lot of this, God just sort of put it together as you're processing all of this. What do you hope happens as a result of the book?
Well, there are a few things. I thought it was very important, worked very closely with investigators so people really knew what actually happened on the mountain. But I, most importantly, wanted to share my faith and how God carried me in the darkest days of my life in hopes that it might bring peace and comfort to others facing tragedy. And then I wanted people to know about Kelly. As his wife, I couldn't save my husband, but this book can honor him.
That's great. And I just appreciate how you've been such a great example to us of somebody who not only believes, but just keeps on believing and keeps holding fast. And that's the whole theme of the book. So thank Karen, will you?